Today we're working on the 2010 Dodge Charger. We're going to be putting rear brake pads and rotors on. I'll also be painting the caliper just so it looks better and resists the rust a little bit. This is an SXT Dodge Charger. Before we get started, I wanted to point out a couple things on this car. I've already done the front brake pads and rotors. There's a video link just up above for that if that's something you're interested in. But during that job, I found that the lug nuts are not in the greatest shape. So the lug nuts are actually, I believe, a steel lug nut, and then this is like an aluminum cover. And what happens is, I think you got steel and then you got aluminum. They don't like each other. There's some weird oxidization that goes on, and then they kind of swell up. I'll find one. I think I took off the other rear and show you what that looks like. But anyway, what I've decided to do is I bought a whole set of lug nuts, and as I'm working my way around this car, I'm just changing them all out. So I will have a link in the description to those lug nuts, the kit that I bought for this car. And it's the same as the factory size. I use a 7/8 socket to remove these lug nuts. But I just want to show you these lug nuts. I would put that on my list of things to change if you're still rolling with the factory lug nuts. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this wheel and start disassembly. So I've got the wheel off. I'm going to go ahead and grab my drill with the brush on it, the wire brush. Start cleaning this up just so it'll be easier to get ready for paint. So I'll do that real quick, and then we'll start to remove the caliper bracket, and then the rotor. Alright, so as you can see, this was pretty clean. The other side was slightly dirtier. I'm not sure if these are factory, if these have been changed out. The car is from California. I live in the Midwest, so you know this isn't normal for me to find something in this good a shape. However, they may have had to replace these calipers at some point. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into the disassembly. I'm going to remove the caliper, get it out of the way, and then we'll get the bracket off and the rotor. So up here at the top we have a 13mm on the back, and then 13 at the bottom here. And then we've got an 18 and an 18 here. So I tried metric and standard, and the best fit was the metric. So that's what we're going with. Going to use a screwdriver here to try and pull on the caliper a little bit, free it up. I did already pull the cap under the hood off of the brake master cylinder, and we're good to go as it pertains to that. Now on the other side, I was able to snake the caliper up to here, but it doesn't look like we got a big wire loom right here that's kind of in the way, so I think we'll just move on to getting the caliper bracket removed. Alright, so I was able to get that up here, which helps out for access back here. Well, here we are. We got the pads in the rotor bracket off, or the caliper bracket off. So we're just gonna tap these out. There goes one. There goes the other. So unfortunately with this set that I bought, it does not come with the hardware, which is just these metal shim pieces. So I'm gonna clean these up and reuse them. They're not in bad shape, so that shouldn't be a problem. So at this point I'm gonna go ahead and compress the caliper and get it ready for the new pads. And this kit that I'm using, I'll have a link in the description below for it. Once again, I already mentioned that I have the cap removed from the master cylinder, and that just allows the fluid to push back up into the reservoir a little easier. Gonna go ahead and spray with some brake clean. Hopefully this doesn't get in your eyes or mine. Okay, well, we'll move on to getting the rotor off. So the way I like to clean the rotors is I'll put them on backwards, like that. And you can maybe see the grease on here or oil from shipping. So I don't soak them. Hopefully that didn't get in your eyes. Just spray some brake cleaner on there and then wipe. You want to wipe this surface in here where the emergency brake contacts. We'll flip it around. Do the same thing. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on the brake caliper bracket. We're going to pull the pins out. We're going to re-grease those, and then we're going to do a little bit of paint prep and get it mounted and move on to the caliper. Before we mount this, we'll go ahead and get some areas, paint some areas that we won't be able to get to very easily once the caliper's in place. So that's what we're about to do. Alright, so the areas that I want to get before we put the caliper on is anything that's going to be right up against the rotor. And I'm also just trying to focus on the area that's going to be seen from the outside of the car. So I'm not real concerned about much else. I also need to get NICs in here and get the brake hardware also in place. Okay, so I think for now that's good enough. We're going to go ahead and get the brake hardware or the NICs on where the brake hardware goes. We'll get this mounted and then we'll mount the caliper. Alright, we're ready for the anti-seize. This should just make the hardware last a little longer. What happens, the caliper bracket sometimes will rust and swell up and push back on the hardware, making it near impossible to remove later down the line. So if we get this taken care of now, it makes life easier in the future, whether it's us or somebody else working on the car. At this point, we're going to go ahead and put the hardware in and put the brake pads in. So we'll go ahead and get these torqued down, and these are 85 foot-pounds. I did spray this with brake clean and wiped it down. Not perfect. I didn't sandblast it or anything like that. So basically I'm getting the areas that are going to be right up against the brake pad where I won't be able to paint, or if I do it won't look very good. And if you want to see what that looks like, you can watch the video where I did the front brakes on this car. These bolts are going to be torqued down to 23 foot-pounds. Alright, and if you're here for the brake job, that's the end of it. I'll finish up by getting the paint on this caliper, and I'll show you the end result here just shortly. Alright, well, we got this brake job done. Put all the links in the description below, everything from the paint to the parts. I'll mention again, this set did not come with the hardware, the metal shims, and a little disappointed about that. Also a little disappointed I couldn't find it locally, but went ahead and cleaned up the old ones and they're in decent shape, so I'm not too concerned about it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If this was helpful, let me know that, and we'll see you on the next video.